So from my experience, one of the worst things that you can deal with, especially with pears, but even with apples as well, is Fireblight. And you can see up in this pear tree, I've got Fireblight. One of the best times to get rid of Fireblight infection is in the dormant season. We're about to start having some buds break here, so I really want to get on this so I don't have it spread throughout the orchard. When we moved here, I had one tree, about half of it was just riddled with Fireblight. So I cut that tree down in place and I just burned it to the ground. There was nothing else I could do. It only had maybe 6 pieces of fruit on it. Obviously it was very disappointing, but I just had to get rid of that because the chances of it spreading to the other pear trees and to the apple trees, and it was just way too high. Wasn't worth the risk just for, those 6 pieces of fruit. But I'm gonna today show you what to look for Fireblight and just kind of give you an idea of what I'm doing and what I've done in the past to try and remedy some of that. And hopefully that'll help you guys deal with Fireblight on your own trees. So I'll take you up here and we'll look at these leaves. That's one of the biggest indicators that you've got Fireblight, is after all the other leaves have fallen out of the tree, you've still got leaves clinging on and they just look like they've been charred or burned. And that's one of the reasons why it's so helpful to be looking for this in the dormant season, is you don't have any extra foliage to spread it to. The Fireblight itself has to wake up before it's going to infect other things, so you want to get rid of it, especially before the blooms come on, because pollinators can spread it around to the different blooms and get it infected in way more places than you're going to see it in the dormant season. You can see a larger wound up here. This tree was maybe 20 feet taller, and I cut it back to where some of these other branches could absorb some of that growth there and keep it from pushing out too far. But I've even noted some Fireblight further down in the tree at this point, so I'm gonna have to do even more drastic cuts this year, and if I don't get rid of it this year, I'll probably take this tree out as well. I probably went several months into last year before I actually noticed any Fireblight show up, so I did take out a great deal of it, but clearly I didn't get it all. My biggest problem here is that it's actually in this main trunk here. So if you look closely at these limbs here, take one of these off, you can see the discoloration on this limb as well, how it looks like it's been charred and burned. Definitely an indicator there that you've got a problem. Here's another good example here where these are coming out. As you go down, it gets blackened and pretty rough looking, and there's some evidence of it on this one here as well. So this whole limb needs to go. And where did that limb get the problem from? And you can trace these cankers back, and you need to remove these cankers by a few feet. So really even this stub here needs to go. The tree probably needs to be cut about a foot or two down from here, and I don't know that there's any tree left at that point. So we'll be cutting it down, and this might be my my top limb here that doesn't have Fireblight. So this is going to be drastic, because if I can take off the top here, I could graft to this some limbs that don't look affected back onto it, and we're basically going to be growing a brand new tree here. It's going to be rough. So what we're going to do here is we're going to let these be the branches. We're going to cut this right here. Hopefully I don't take these out, because this just became chainsaw work. I'm going to cut that out and hopefully graft into the top here, unless I see some reason not to. I don't see Fireblight lower on the tree, so maybe that's where it's worked its way to and we can stop it there. So I'm actually cringing a little bit at myself right now, because anytime I see a pruning video and someone pulls out a chainsaw, I actually just leave, because I assume I'm not going to learn anything good because the wounds you're going to create and all that. So I don't blame you if you don't want to look at this, but I don't think we have much of an option. I'm going to start by taking off some of these lower limbs. I like to take those down carefully so I don't have those leaves go spread themselves. I want to be able to scoop everything up and take it out and torch it. So take off the limbs, and then I'll take the trunk down in pieces and work with it that way. I was even researching a little bit more into some articles by some universities about Fireblight. They say if it hits into your trunk, it's done. Just get rid of it. So this is really a last-ditch effort. I'm going to be growing out some more pear trees from some suckers from some other, and I'm going to replace it if it is dead, but we'll give it one more shot. We'll see what it does, see if we can get it to work, and if we can't, we'll take it down later. But at least this way it'll prevent it from spreading very much to other trees, at least for this year. even if it still persists in that main trunk and it's still alive in there. So I don't know, we'll see what happens. I'm gonna just keep watching it, prune off whatever I have to throughout the summer to really keep up with it. And if I see cankers and things on what the trunk is left, we'll go ahead and we'll torch it. Let's take a look here, what we've got. Pretty clean cut, actually. I didn't expect it to be that clean of a cut with a chainsaw there. I even had left myself some grafting room on here as well, so I can cut into that, get that going. So I'm gonna go ahead and I am gonna cut it here to get rid of a majority of this, and then see this take over hopefully as the tree, as well as some branches that I get over here. So hopefully I can train some of these branches to just go straight out. Hopefully we don't see Fireblight on them, but we're definitely gonna find out. The amount of suckers we're gonna get is gonna be a mess, but yeah, it should be interesting to just see if we got rid of it. So that was a bit of a cleaner cut here with the Sawzall. So I'm gonna go ahead and recut this and try and get a little bit of an angle. With some of these cuts, I cut higher than I wanted to bring it down to, because the weight sometimes, when it comes off, it'll peel some of that bark with it, and I just didn't want that to happen. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and try and dress these wounds up just a little bit and do some grafting after I get this one cut a little cleaner. Now, when you are top working, it is very important that you leave nursery branches. So we were lucky here, we did have branches we can keep. So these ones, I don't even want to really prune much at all. I will probably take this one out here. But actually, if I can get it bent over to the side and held in place better, I'm gonna prefer that instead. I want to make sure there's plenty of sap flow, especially having these nursery branches right here at the top. Where I'm doing the top working here, you know, this is already going to force the tree to want to put some nutrients here. So if I get some grafts on the other side here, then that'll help hopefully heal over this spot and also promote some new shoots and growth out of those. Right now, my focus is to get these to heal over, and then we'll choose from whatever survives and what makes it through and hopefully doesn't have Fireblight, and we'll choose from those, you know, the ideal pieces to regrow this tree. Let's go ahead and pick us some scions. And of course I got to be careful with that too. I don't want to grab a scion that's got evidence to Fireblight in it. I liked some of the water sprouts I found here, so I was a little extra careful with those. I'm going to check those over for Fireblight, and if I don't see any, then we'll go ahead and utilize some of those and get those in there. So obviously I don't trust much of anything that comes off this tree. I hardly trust the branches I've left. They may even have Fireblight in them. They will come off immediately if I see it. But I found some here that we're gonna go ahead and try. They look clean to me, so we'll see how this goes and get these wrapped up. So I've got a long cut here and I'm trying to keep it pretty thin so I can get that in there. I am keeping these scions relatively long. There's a lot of potential energy in this tree that's gonna wanna just shoot out. So it's gonna be able to handle large scions just fine. Or if not, we'll learn. Love using this Parafilm. It really helps hold humidity in, and it can get decently tight, but I'm going to go ahead and use this strip of bag here from a potting soil bag to get real extra tight on this to really make sure that those stay in place. Alright, I'm going to come back out here with some electrical tape later and get it a little bit tighter and more secured, but I've got them all on here now. Wrapped these in Parafilm. Wasn't terribly careful with that. I know these nursery branches are, you know, going to be that same variety anyway, which is susceptible to Fireblight obviously too, so not terribly thrilled about that, but we'll see just how this turns out. I put one little Shinshiki Asian pear on there too to see if that'll go. There's already a spur, so we'll see if it takes, but given how much I cut back, it might actually work. But I'll keep you guys updated on whether or not this works and what exactly happens. All right, thanks for watching.